Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Not the Chair Circle, Musings of a Therapy Survivor. Now, according to the caption, this episode is called Introductions, Explanations and Apologies. So let's begin there. An introduction. My name's Bob McGowan and I'm a sellae-circulophobic. Now, if you saw episode 1, you'll know what that is. But if you didn't, don't worry, I'm not trying to clickbait you or whatever it's called. I'll tell you now. Sellae-circulophobia is the morbid, all-consuming fear of chairs arranged in a circle. In my life, I have endured many maladies, mental and physical. This has forced me to attend innumerable group therapy sessions. Now, anyone who's ever been to a group therapy session will be well aware of the setup. It is almost always in a hall somewhere with a lot of chairs arranged in a circle. On those chairs, there will be fellow sufferers, a counsellor or therapist, and you. It was, I believe, attendance to these events that led to my current situation, that of being a chronic sellae-circulophobic. Now, sellae-circulophobia is a relatively new condition. I believe its frequency has been exacerbated in recent years simply by the number of group therapy sessions there are these days. Anything goes wrong with anybody, group therapy session. Fall and hurt your leg, group therapy session. Trauma, group therapy session. Anger management, group therapy session. The very existence of sellae-circulophobia, however, has been called into question by several so-called professionals. Is it indeed an emerging psychological phenomenon, or merely an excuse not to go? I'll let you decide, dear viewer. Sellae-circulophobia itself is a progressive condition. As my bouts became more believable, severe, it was decided that I should no longer attend group therapy sessions. So where to go from there? The next natural step was a one-to-one consultation with the therapist himself. This was less than successful. After several acrimonious exchanges, where the parentage of both consultant and patient was questioned, it was decided that I should cease treatment. It was duly decided that a third course of action should be taken: self-therapy. I was duly dispatched with a set of book tokens and a caution from the police and attendants that I was not to enter the building again. Self-help proved of limited value. It is incredibly easy to burn books. After switching to audiobooks, I found I developed a further phobia. I can no longer hear a Californian accent without breaking into a cold sweat. And then I discovered YouTube. Now, I didn't know that by dint of the fact that I had a Gmail account, I also owned my own telly station. Bloody brilliant! In fact, I only found out how YouTube worked when my sister invited me to watch her channel. Liesel's Cigar Box Guitars. Watch it, it's great. In fact, if you've had watching this, hop over and watch it now. Bloody marvellous. I tell you what, it's one of the better things I've ever. Having found out how YouTube worked, I could immediately see the potential in it. Here, I had an audience, just like at group session, except the audience can't talk back. That's not to say that you are not without right of reply, dear viewer. There is, of course, the comments box, which I will read. All the same, I did have to ask myself, dear viewer, am I doing this for the right intentions? Is this a serious attempt at self-therapy, or am I just an old fart sounding off into a camera? That brings me nicely to the intentions part of the programme. Each episode I intend to cover a topic which I believe is loosely connected to sellae-circulophobia, at least in my case. My hope is to achieve catharsis through this method, or at the very least not to get sent back to the bloody therapist. So what's in it for you, dear viewer, I hear you cry. I do promise to give you a frank and honest account of everything I've been through. Well, most of it. Probably. Well, it has been shown historically that the misfortune of others can provide excellent entertainment for their fellow person. Sorry. That leads me to another intention in the making of this programme. It is not my intention to be in any way controversial or to cause offence to anybody. I do, however, suffer from one serious handicap. I am Generation X. No, not the crappy mock rock band from the 70s, the actual age group. Although coincidentally you have to be that age group to know what I'm on about. This means that I've spent most of my life in the last century. As such, I do encounter some language barriers when speaking to millennials. It isn't for lack of trying, I promise you, but I do have trouble keeping up with what is and isn't acceptable vocabulary these days. Rather than saying something is triggering or challenging or problematic, I tend to use the all-encompassing term pain in the arse. I will try and moderate my language, but if the odd thing slips out, I will ask you just to bear in mind my advanced senility. I thank you for your kind indulgence. But there were still other considerations when I was looking at the motivations for making the programme. Was I doing it for fame? Was I doing it for money? In the 60s, Andy Warhol, the inventor of tin soup, said that in the future everybody would be bananas. No, he said that everybody would be famous for 15 minutes. Well, if I managed to get 15 of you to watch this for 1 minute, then we've covered that, haven't we? So we can forget that one. Am I in this for the money? No, not at all. This channel isn't monetised, so any adverts that show up are just for YouTube. Okay. Now this could be of advantage to you, dear viewer. I won't be doing this every 4 seconds, and I'm not going to ask you to click on anything. As I mentioned, the comments box is yours. Do with it as you will. I will reply to any comments and accede to any requests that are anatomically possible. If you want me to put my head up somewhere that I can't even see, let alone reach, then you're asking too much. But if the request is within the realms of physics, I shall give it a go. If it raises a smile, go ahead. Have a guilt-free laugh. I give you full permission. If all else fails, we'll have to resort to stand-up comedy. Aye, alright now. Oi, alright now, best of order. Bingo in a minute. So, Dalai Lama, yes, Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama walks into Pizza Hut and he says, "Can you make me one with everything?" What do you mean you don't get it, ignorant bastard? Finally, we come to the last section of the caption, apologies. My apologies centre around what I believe is now known as the optics. No, not those sort of optics. Now, as I mentioned, I only found out how YouTube worked a few weeks ago. I'm not a technical person. After watching just 400 hours of how-to videos on YouTube, I decided I would need a mic, a camera, and a light. And this is the result, so I apologise for the poor quality of the video you've been suffering so far. Hopefully, over the course of the series, my technical abilities will improve. I wouldn't hold your breath though. Finally, there is a far more fundamental optic which I must apologise for. This. I like to think of myself as a fairly self-aware person. As such, I am well aware that I've got a face like a bag full of spanners. I can't sound wild about my speaking voice either. Now, while my filming technique may improve over the series, I'm afraid there's very little I can do about this face. I will attempt to distract you, however, with my dazzling wardrobe. One thing I won't do is appear in a t-shirt with a logo and a backwards baseball hat and say yo at you. I think there are far too many middle-aged men doing that on YouTube already. They should be bloody ashamed of themselves. And I think that covers everything. Now in episode 3 we really get started. The subject will be something that almost certainly caused my sellae-circulophobic, rehabilitation, or as the kids are calling it these days, rehab. I hope you'll join me, always supposing that is that you're still watching now. Irrespective of that, I thank you for your kind indulgence.